Hey there, my friends. Welcome to the Links to Messiah podcast, where we are passionate about teaching our children all about the connections between the Old and New Testament. I'm your host, Rachel Links Kushner, also known as the Chief Enthusiasm Officer of Links to Messiah. I'm so thrilled to have you join us today. Come along and learn how your family and children can grow in their faith as you discover the beautiful links that God reveals throughout Scripture about the history of His people and His Son Jesus, our Messiah.
Carolyn Hyde, it's so nice to meet you. We have never met, so I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
Me too.
So I know we have a mutual friend in Sally O'Connor. That's how we got connected.
Okay.
But since we've never met, before we jump into our conversation, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you came to know Jesus? I know you're living in Israel. Tell me, what's happening?
Okay. All right. The short version. So I grew up near Chicago in an Orthodox Jewish synagogue, and I'm very steeped in Judaism and loved it. But when I was like in high school, I drifted away. And then in university, it was the hippie movement. We were all into that. And
Yes.
of course, the idea of looking at Yeshua, because I was looking for something to put in that spiritual vacuum. And of course, Yeshua, that was forbidden.
That was a definite no.
So I got into the New Age, and all my friends in the New Age were Jewish as well.
Okay. Yeah.
And from there, I got very restless. And so I was a wandering Jew, I suppose you could say. I went down to Mexico. I was a blues singer in bars.
Oh,
And
really?
one
Oh,
day
cool.
I was minding my own business and I had a vision and I saw Yeshua. A host of angels was singing with me. And it was like, I remember looking up and seeing him and it was like something fell off my eyes. And I remember saying, oh, it's Jesus and he's the Lord. And then I thought, I'm not allowed to say that.
Oh, wow.
And-
Okay, so wait, tell me about that. Were you singing at the moment, like performing when that happened?
no, I was in a halfway sleep awakening state.
Okay, okay.
And so, yeah, when I had,
Wow.
and so it really scared me.
So those words came out of your mouth and you were like, wait a minute, that's not allowed. I'm Jewish.
Exactly. So I became a secret believer for 4 years.
For 4 years.
I was
How did you grow in that time? How did you learn more about Jesus in that time?
not very much, although God in his great mercy led me beautifully. I came back to America. I was working as a nurse
Okay.
and a home health nurse. And so I had 7 patients over time, over those 4 years, who were all in the African American community.
Uh-huh.
And when you're a home health nurse, you have time, you can talk. And so we would talk, and it didn't take them long to realize this was a lost little Jewish girl into Buddhism and who knows what else. And so I would change the foot dressing or give a treatment or something, medical treatment. And then they'd be like, now sit down, girl. And
I got a word for you.
yeah. And they had these Bibles that were big. And they would read to me. And so I got discipled on the south end of Norfolk. And yeah, it's kind of strange. But the thought never occurred to me to go to a church during those 4 years because
Sure.
the only thing that would come to me initially was regarding church was the Easter Bunny. And I couldn't
Funny,
figure out
yeah.
what that has to do with the Torah.
Right, of course.
Because I love the Torah and I still read the Parashat of Shavua every week.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just didn't go. And I was basically spoon fed for 4 years.
Right.
And then after 4 years, I had a deep longing to hear the Kol Nidre on Erev Yom Kippur.
You did.
And of course, you know how it is in America, you have to pay for a seat. to
That's
enter the
right.
synagogue.
Yeah.
And so I found an ad in a newspaper for a Messianic congregation. Didn't know what that meant. But it was
Okay.
free. So I figured, okay, that's my
You're
price.
like, that's a good price. I like
Yeah.
that price.
And so I went, and it was pretty amazing, actually. Prayers in Hebrew, and I could understand it.
Right.
Except they kept talking about Yeshua, and I had never heard his name in the Hebrew.
In Hebrew. Oh.
And so I there was a lady who was very much Jewish. And so I hung out with her and I said, who's this Yeshua they keep talking about? And she said, Jesus, he's the Messiah. And I thought, oh, okay. And then I was looking around and saying, so all these people are Jewish? And I was thinking they don't look Jewish, most of them. And she said, no, about 80% are born again Christians. So I got upset because I grew up with a lot of hostility against Christians because of the Holocaust and stories in my synagogue from Holocaust survivors, such as the guards would brutally beat us all week, but they never beat us on Sunday because that's when they went to church. I didn't grow
Yay.
up with these stories. And so that's what I believed. And I was told by my new friend, no, that is not true. Because I was saying, why are Christians here? They hate us. And she said, no, truly born again Christians actually love the Jewish people and love Israel. And I had never heard that in my life.
That was
So
brand new information for
brand
you.
new. Yeah. So I went through a
Wow.
healing and a deliverance.
Yeah.
And in fact, obviously, I don't hate Christians anymore. My husband is Christian. And
Uh-huh.
we consider ourselves a prophetic picture of one new man and Messiah. And that's why our ministry is called the Heart of God, because that
Yeah,
is
the
the
heart of God.
heart
Oh,
of God.
okay. So I'm going to jump forward a second, but tell me a little bit about your ministry and what is it exactly?
Okay. That's the name because
Yes.
we always try to make it very clear when we're ministering that God doesn't love Jews more than Gentiles.
Yeah.
And if he made you Gentile, he didn't make a mistake. Don't try to act Jewish, okay? It really bugs
Right.
me and it bugs the Jewish community. It's like, why? There's no reason to do that.
Right.
Rejoice in however God made you. Jew, Gentile, male, female. It's all
Yeah.
good. And so what we do is our heart is a heart of worship. I'm
Mm,
very much involved in worship in Israel, a lot of different venues. And then
okay.
also sharing Messiah. That's
Yes, of
really
course. Yeah.
what we do. We
Yeah.
work with our sons, Ariel and
Oh,
Avi. Now they have a ministry in FIFA called Tree of Life Israel.
okay.
They're in, you've probably seen this before. Have you ever seen a video of a young man on the streets of Israel? He's holding a microphone, going up to
Yes.
families and just
Yes.
reading Isaiah 53.
Yes.
So that's our son, Ariel.
Oh, that's awesome. I love those videos. I can binge watch those videos. They're amazing.
Yeah, they got 110 million views just last year alone. All the
Wow.
videos.
They taken all throughout Israel or just in Haifa or
All
where? Are
throughout,
they all over the place?
well, the videos, because they're online, they're all throughout the world. And that's
Well, I
how
mean,
they got,
but where
they're
are they
located in
filmed?
Haifa. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They'll often
Hmm.
in Haifa, most of the team live there. But what
Oh,
happened
that's
was,
so cool.
we always
Yeah,
tell people it's not because of us. It's just we got to be the right time, the right location, and
that's right.
God did
Yeah.
the rest. But initially, when Isaiah 53 was the first video to come out, and then the responses, okay, we got a lot of cursing, typical, but the responses from so many Israelis were phenomenal. I'm having dreams. I saw a man in white. I think it was Yeshua. Can I talk to you?
Wow.
And it was initially Richard and our boys responding to people online because social
Mm,
media, you get responses.
yeah.
And then we couldn't handle it. So we started hiring people. And now we're
Uh,
up to 14.
wow.
We're
It just
on,
exploded.
it has Israeli
That's
believers. We're
amazing.
sharing the gospel in Israel.
Yeah.
And then what happens is we go to the streets during all the Chagim, all the feasts of the Lord. We go to the streets and the responses are amazing. We
Yeah.
are in a time in Israel, especially since October.
Yeah.
It's like everything has changed. And
Mhm.
Israelis are asking a lot of questions, and we are
Yeah.
too. How
The
did,
deep, real questions of
yeah,
life, the
how did
real
this happen?
stuff.
We're supposed to have state of the art surveillance, and they said that on the border fence between Israel and Gaza, if a cat jumped on that fence, it would trigger all the alarms and bells. So how did cameras break
How did,
in 22 different places? That's a lot of
right.
that
A lot of
that
questions.
were make fun of them. So we made a new video. It was just released with English subtitles, but within a week after the massacre. we made a video that was asking these tough questions that Israelis are asking. And how did they get 242 captives and kidnappings? And where are they? And
Yeah.
all these
Right.
questions. And so that's what the new video is. It just came out with English subtitles.
Okay, I haven't seen that one, but I will definitely go look for it. I'm surprised it doesn't pop up in my feed because it's when you watch something, the algorithm feeds you what you watch. So
Great.
I will definitely go look for that. We'll link it in the show notes too, because I know people are going to want to watch that. That's fascinating. I love the concept of sharing Isaiah 53. I'll never forget years ago reading that passage. My dad read it to my cousin, and he said, I'm going to read you something, and I want you to tell me, who is this speaking of? She didn't know where. He opened the Bible. She didn't know anything as to Old Testament, she didn't know. And so he reads and she says, of course that's talking about Jesus. Of course it is. And he said, let me show you where I read from. And she was in shock.
Totally.
That was in the Old Testament. She
Yeah.
was absolutely in shock. Just never knew, had never heard it. That leads me to this is one of the questions that I want to ask you. I do want to talk about Passover too. I want to jump into that. But I want to know, tell me from your perspective why you think it's so important. Like, a lot of our listeners are parents of young children. So why is it important to teach these Old Testament, I hate to say stories because then it sounds like a fable. You know what I mean? But like the Old Testament truths, right? Why is it important to introduce children at a young age to the Old Testament as really like a foundation for their lifelong relationship with Jesus? How would you answer that for families?
Okay, why is it important to teach children the foundations of the Torah?
Yeah.
Because it is the foundation that we build our house on. It's a love letter from God to us
Yes. Yes.
that He wrote personally just for each one of us. And to me, the Torah is life. When I'm sharing Messiah in Israel and people ask me, why would you, sometimes they ask me, like, how did you get like this? Like it's some kind of delusion.
Like something's wrong with you. To the doctor immediately.
Yeah, exactly. But I tell them because this is how I see Yeshua. He was the Torah made flesh and walking among us to show us how to live. So he is our foundation. So this is why it's imperative that we teach this to our children.
Yeah.
And we homeschooled our 5 children before we made Aliyah. And everything we did when I was looking for curriculum, there was a lot of good Christian curriculum. There was not much for Messianic Jews. And so I had to write a lot of my own stuff. I got a lot of my own stuff from some Orthodox Jewish sources. I just had to filter some of the things and then, of course, add Yeshua to it because our kids are steeped in the feasts. And notice I don't call them the Jewish holidays. I always make that really clear that the feasts of the Lord. And for everybody who follows the feasts, whether Jewish or Christian, they're your feasts too. I mean, they're for everybody.
The feasts of the Lord. Yeah.
Hey there, my friends. I'm interrupting this podcast for just a minute to tell you about the ultimate freebie packet for your family for the upcoming spring holidays of Purim and Passover. If you're looking for some fun and educational activities to keep your kids engaged, we've got you covered. You can head over to linkstomessiah.com and click on the resources tab to grab your ultimate Purim and Passover freebie packet. Dive into the world of Purim by creating and decorating your own crown, just like Queen Esther. Challenge your little ones with a thrilling Purim, maze, and crossword puzzle. Explore vocabulary related to Purim with the unique coloring page that we created just for you. But that's not all. Immerse your children in the Passover story with a Moses character coloring page, complete with "Let my people go" written at the bottom. You can get creative with a Seder plate to color and cut out, and my favorite, embark on a Red Sea craft adventure. And for a dash of challenge, don't miss our memory game and our 10 plagues coloring sheets.
It is an epic adventure of learning and fun for your kids. So visit the links-to-messiah.com website and click on the resources tab, or you can click the link in the show notes. Now back to our conversation. Okay, let's jump into Passover for a second. Before we even do that, I'm just so curious because you talked about your family and you have 5 children, homeschooled, made Aliyah. For people who don't know what that means, you moved to Israel, you became citizens,
Yeah.
and lived there as your normal life
For 20 years we've been here.
for 20 years. So, how old were your children when you went?
Well, our second oldest daughter made Aliyah first. I've noticed that happens a
Oh,
lot with people. She was 18 and she moved to Israel, married a rabbi. She actually is religious. And so then when she started having babies, well, hey, we have to go visit.
oh,
And,
yeah.
and then actually the Lord, it's a whole sequel, it's a whole story, how we
Yeah.
married Aliyah. But God did a wonder and made it very clear we were to go. So when we first got
Okay.
there, when we came, Ariel was 15, Avi was 11, and Eliana was 7 or 8.
Okay. So, still quite young. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, they had almost their full education there.
Oh, they did. And then our oldest daughter came 10 years ago.
Okay.
So got
Wow. So,
all
you're
covered
all there.
from, and I am so grateful to God because we have a lot of friends who are our age whose children and their grandchildren live in America or some other nation, and maybe see them twice a year or on
Right.
Zoom, but that's not the same. We are intensely involved in the lives of
Yeah.
all
Oh,
18 of our grandchildren.
oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's
Right.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it.
And they're all
Well,
native born Israel.
yeah, when you do get back to Israel, something that I've started, this is why I had you on my podcast, but something that I started after this war broke out, like all of us, our hearts were breaking. And it was like, what can I do? Yes, I can pray, of course. And I'm doing that. Yes, I can financially support reputable ministries and all of that. And those are all good things. But I just kept asking the Lord, I feel like I need to do something practical. I want to do something practical. And He just whispered this little idea into my heart to start what is called Israeli story time for children. So it's 7 p.m. Israel time.
Okay.
Every night, I get on my Instagram, on Links to Messiah Instagram live, and I read a Bible story. And we've had a lot of Israelis, some believers, some not believers.
I call those pre-believers.
The
Pre-believers.
pre-believers. I like that term. Yes. So we've had some pre-believers come and listen, and they are hearing the stories of Yeshua, and it's been absolutely phenomenal. We've been doing virtual coloring parties. We
Make
are
sure
having
send me
so much fun.
because
I will.
my grandkids.
Your grandkids will love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will love it. And the reason I did it, I felt like God was saying to do it, just do it until I tell you to stop, and do it at 7 p.m. because kids are settling down for bed. So it's a way to help them settle down. It
Yeah.
gives them something to
Beautiful.
look forward to. It's consistent, it's every day. I try to go live almost every day. There are days that I have to pre record and upload
I
it or
love it.
whatever.
That's brilliant. I definitely
It
work with the link.
it has been so much fun. Here I thought, what a great way to minister to the children of
Yeah.
Israel. But guess what it's doing? It's ministering right to my own heart as I read the children's Bible, right? It's just
Wow.
amazing.
Oh, that's beautiful. You know what? I have to say the same thing. As a kind of a workaholic, I initially when the massacre happened, I was like torn between rage
Yeah.
and deep depression. Like, how did
Yeah.
this happen? And
Right.
so I just threw myself into humanitarian aid, which
Uh-huh.
is something I've been doing. I'm actually working with some Haredim humanitarian aid. They know I'm a believer, but
Uh-huh.
since the
Great.
war, everybody's working together and doing. And
Yes.
this is the other thing. You probably can't see this so well, but this is Psalm 91 bandana.
Oh,
And we've been giving those out for years in Israel, and they're in Hebrew, it's color of the IDF uniform. And so what we would do is we would go to the northern border, Lebanon,
yeah.
northern border. And as soon as we get there, I'll walk up to the soldiers and say, "Em יודעים את הסיפור הזה? Do you know the story about these?" And of course, they all say no.
Right.
So then I share that in World War I, there was a Pluga unit from Texas who was sent to some of the worst of the fighting, frontline battles in France and Germany. They're in the trenches. And other units adjacent to them had a mortality rate of 70, 80%. But
Phew.
this group prayed Psalm 91 together every day. And
No.
that tell the soldiers, Afahad Nilgu, Afahad, not one was killed. Hey, not one.
Whoa.
And when they hear
Whoa.
that, their eyes get wide and they're like, I want 20 of these ready
Yeah.
to go in my unit. And so we're
Wow.
giving out like popcorn. So that's why I have a lot
Awesome.
here because we're
Yeah.
carrying home more of these. We just had 2,500 printed. And
Oh,
we'll take
good.
them home, even though our bags are going to be in, we'll pay extra for the luggage because we want to, that's our plan. As soon as we get home,
Yeah.
go back to the borders of Lebanon and Gaza and give these
Oh,
to our soldiers to encourage
wonderful. Oh, that's amazing. That's a really powerful story. That is just scripture at its finest.
our
I
kids.
love that. Oh, I could talk to you so long about all of these things. I have a gazillion questions running through my head, but I do want our listeners to hear your perspective on Passover for a couple of reasons. One, I just want to hear your thoughts on it. But secondly, I'd love to hear I've never been in Israel for Passover.
Oh,
So before we get to that, just tell me if you had to explain Passover to one of your grandchildren who's 5, 7 years old, how would you explain Passover?
I use drama.
Tell me.
Okay. I teach the story minimally
Yes.
and then line up the kids and just reenact it with them.
I
And
love that.
like
Yeah.
one year we used dolls to be the Egyptians and just
Uh-huh.
have the whole story reenacted. Another year, what we do at our Seder with with our grandkids is we'll have the 10 plagues on a strip of paper, each one, bottle
Yeah.
disease, plague of darkness, and so forth. And then we put them in a hat. And the kids have to pick out one plague and then they have to do like charade and act it.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the adults have to guess which plague.
I love it. You make it so interactive.
Oh, totally. Totally. And because now we're
Mhm.
sitting there for a couple hours with the kids.
I know. It can get so
And
long.
it's like boring. No, we don't. Our Seders are never boring. They're not that long.
You're up and having fun
Oh,
and
yeah.
yeah,
And
not
we
just
love
sitting in your
girls.
seat reading the Haggadah.
But yeah, no, we do read the whole Haggadah, but we make it
Right.
enjoyable and fun. And then, of course, our older son, Ariel, he's got a voice and he does, when Israel was in Egypt land, let my
Let my
people go. Of
go.
course,
I
we
love it.
were a singer in the past, so
You join right in.
join in. And then all the kids jump in there too. With that.
I love
So
it.
we do a
Oh,
lot.
that
And
sounds fun.
yeah, we have a lot of fun with our singing.
Yeah. So tell our listeners how beautiful we know how beautiful it is, but tell us how we see Jesus so clearly in the Passover celebration.
Oh,
I know there's a million answers to that question.
yeah. Yeah. First of all, the blood over the doorpost. It's interesting that you asked this. Before we made Aliyah, the Lord led us to live in Germany for 2.5.
Okay.
And I never wanted to set foot in that place.
Right.
As I mentioned, I grew up with hostility towards Christians. Of course, I got healed of that. But you can imagine what I thought of Germans. It wasn't very nice. And God has not given us a ministry of hatred. And so he led us to live in Germany. I have dreams and visions, and that's how God speaks to me. We fought him for 2 years. We did not want to move to Germany, but finally God won. We moved there. Long story made short, we were living in this little village, about 15 minutes from Dachau. Yeah. And the town historian gave us a tour of the village and he showed us the town hotel. And he said the owner of this hotel was one of Hitler's best friends. And Hitler used to come to the beer hall in this hotel
Oh
and
my.
make plans for the final solution right in this place, in that little village where we were living. Yeah.
No. way.
And so something rose up in Richard's spirit and my husband, and he said, "That's it. We're going to have a Passover Seder in that same beer hall."
No. Ooh, I
And
got goosebumps.
yeah, and so we did. And
You
of course,
did.
it was crazy though, because the way that you sell tickets,
You proclaim the name of Jesus in a beer hall that Hitler was in. Wow.
it included dinner. So we needed to sell tickets. And the way you do that in Germany is you go to the bookstores. And everybody was like totally skeptical. You'll never sell. Nobody knows what this is. Passover. And they were very skeptical. We had sold about 30 tickets. There was room for 200 people. And 10 days before the event, the caterer needed to know how many people are coming. So at first we were going to say 30, but the Lord said, tell them it'll be sold out.
No way. Okay.
So we told them 200. Now, if 200 didn't show up, we were liable
You're paying for that food.
for that.
Right.
But we did in faith. And the next day, a journalist from the village newspaper contacted us and wanted to do an interview on our family. Because how is this, family, Jew, and the wife's Jewish, the husband's Christian, the kids are Jewish.
What's going on? Right,
How
right.
they moved to our little town. And that article got so much publicity that
Wow.
they came back and did another interview.
So much traction. People wanted to know more.
Exactly. So we spoke about the Passover.
Ah. And
And
I'm guessing you're going to tell me it's sold out.
we were beyond sold out. We
Oh,
like
wow.
only room for 200, but over 220 came. And of course, you know how it is. You never turn anyone away from
Oh,
it.
that's right. You just say, come on in. Elijah, scooch over.
So yeah, exactly. We had them squished in. And
Oh,
most of the people were secular Germans. What? There weren't that many Christians there. There was some big conference happening at the same time. We got all the secular Germans. And of course, the Passover is so evangelistic.
my
The
goodness. Yes.
picture of it, the matzah, by his stripes were pierced, he was pierced, and or by his stripes, excuse me, we are healed and
Yes.
pierced for our sins. And just the whole way the Passover is set up. And so, yeah, we saw a lot of people come to faith in Germany.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing. What a beautiful story. You've shared so much. I'm telling you, I could talk to you for a long time. I got a lot of questions, but I'm going to wrap it up and I'm going to ask you just one final question. If you could share, what are some practical ways that parents, and you have the history as a homeschool teacher, homeschool parent. What are some practical ways that parents and like home educators or any kind of educator could incorporate some of these Old Testament lessons and stories into a child's spiritual upbringing? What are some simple ways? You've already given us some, which is
Yeah,
really
with
great.
camera and music and sing.
Yeah.
Honestly, one of my main resources was, I don't remember the name of it because it's been so long, but it was
Okay.
Orthodox Jewish Clearinghouse in New York City somewhere,
Uh-huh.
Brooklyn probably. And they make the most incredible resources for children. One of them is online, and I remember this one, Torah Tot.
Torah tots.
Huh? It's specifically for toddlers. Now, of course, as parents who follow Yeshua,
You have to make changes, of course.
to put him in the
Yep.
midst of it. But the resources are so Torah
Mm.
centered and talk about Israel, and they talk about the Leviticus 23 feasts of the Lord. And so that
Wow. Okay.
they're excellent resource.
Yeah.
How we
That's
would
great.
know all kinds of stuff. I use a lot of those resources.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. I'm curious
Hey,
because Links to Messiah, what we do is we have these boxes that we send out to people. They're like pre-prepared
here,
lessons, and we do a feast. Like for example, right now, Hanukkah, not a feast, but a big celebration in Jewish culture. So in each box, we have like games and toys and curriculum and all
100%.
kinds of different things for children to be able to understand what these feasts are. Obviously, Jesus is the center. Everything is pointing to that because there really is a lack of curriculum of for messianic themed curriculum. Anyway, this has been amazing. Carolyn, I'm so grateful that you took time For those listening, this is Thanksgiving morning. So we got our turkeys in the oven and we're talking about Passover. There's nothing more than I'd rather do. I love it.
Yeah,
Thank you for your time. I
um,
really appreciate it so, so
encouraged.
much.
When
And
we hope to do this again, and I
yeah,
can
I would love to do it again because we didn't even talk about what it's like Passover in Israel. So maybe that'll be our next conversation. As it gets closer to Passover, maybe we can do that. And we can chit chat while you're in Israel. It works. Okay, awesome. Blessings. Have a fun, fun day with your family or with your
about our
friends or whoever you're with.
friends, our family's back in Israel. We'll do
I
it
figured as much.
when we get home next week.
Oh, good. Okay. God
Yeah,
bless you. Thank you
you
so
too.
much, Carolyn.
Shalom,
Okay.
shalom. Behitraot.
Shalom, shalom.
Thank you for being a part of the Links to Messiah podcast family. Your support means the world to us, and your feedback and engagement keep us going strong. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this podcast with your friends and family. Let's continue growing this incredible community together. Until next week, keep reading the Bible to your children, keep their curiosity burning, and keep coming back for more tips to anchor your child's faith to Jesus, our Messiah. This is your host, Rachel Lynx Kushner, signing off with a big smile and a heart full of gratitude.